Hi, this is Mrs. Tellas. We're going to go over this candy game. I'm going to show you how I did each one of them. And I'm going to talk about each one. So on the first screen, the G of X, and again, you probably don't want to watch this whole video. It'll probably be long because there's 18 slides. However, if there are specific ones that you don't know how to do, I'm going to go in order. So you would want to, fast forward to the ones that are giving you a problem and look at those and figure out, oh, that's how you do that one. Okay, so on the G of X equals negative 4x plus 10, what I'm doing is I'm just taking this number that's in the parenthesis and I'm substituting it in for x. I'm taking the x out and I'm putting the number in. And then honestly, you can use PEMDAS here when I write out the work, or you could just stick this into Desmos. Desmos will do PEMDAS for you, and it will give you negative 14. Okay, so if you're having trouble with this slide, I want you to go ahead and stop it right now, stop the recording, and try these two. So you're going to take the 10 and put it in for x. So it's going to look like that. And then you're going to stick this into Desmos, and it's going to give you negative 30. So same thing for this 0. I'm going to take the x out, and I'm going to put the 0 in for x. And there's my work. And you should get 10. So I'm hoping that you tried those if you were having trouble with those and that you got those right. So if you did, great job. All right, so x and y intercepts. This is where we cover up the opposite letter that we want. So for this one, 2x plus 4y equals 8, I want the x-intercept, which means that I'm going to scratch out the y part, the sign, the 4, and the y. And then in the front, 2x is left, and in the back, 8 is left. So I drop those, and then I solve for x by dividing by 2. And because this is x equals 4, it goes in the x spot in the ordered pair. And then I would graph that right here to the right. Okay, so over here for the y-intercept, I do the same thing. I just do opposite. So this time I cross out, because I want y in the answer, I cross out the x, and I divide both sides by 4, and I get y is 2. And since y is 2, I put it in the y position, and I graph it on the coordinate plane, and then I connect the 2 points. And I can figure out what the line looks like using the x and y intercept. So press pause if you were having trouble with this one, the intercepts, and try the other one, and then see if you get the same thing that I get. So for the x-intercept, I cross out the positive, the 6, and the y. The negative 3x drops and negative 9 drops, and I divide both sides by negative 3, and x is 3, so I put it in that front position. So it's right there. And then on this one, I cross out the x information, so the negative, the 3, the x, and I divide both sides by 6. That gives me a decimal, but that's okay. It's a nice decimal. Y equals negative 1.5, and that goes in the y position. So I graph that down 1 between negative 1 and negative 2, so it's kind of in between, and then I just connect the 2. All right, so slope formula. We didn't have a lot of time to practice this, so I'm hoping that there's 2 of these so that you've got 4 of them to practice and an explanation to do so. So here's the formula. Y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. When they give me 2 points, I use the formula. The other thing I could do would be to graph the 2 points and do rise over run. So I'm allowed to do that too, especially if you're taking this test at home. Whatever your resources are, that would be a good resource to graph the 2 points. All right, so I labeled them x1, y1 because that's the first point, and x2, y2 because that's the second point. On the top, I put the y. So what I'm doing is I'm taking one ordered pair and I'm subtracting the other one. So negative 3 minus, because that's a part of the formula, negative 5. And then I'm putting this into Desmos and getting 2. And then on the bottom, I'm subtracting the x's. So down here, 1 minus 4. So that's, again, putting it into Desmos, and minus comes from the formula. And I get negative 3. So my slope is 2 over negative 3. Okay, so if I do the same thing down here, negative 3 minus 5. Oh, different problem. Sorry. Okay, so 1 minus 5. Those are my y's that I'm subtracting. And again, the minus comes from the formula. And then 8 minus 2. And again, the minus comes from the formula. So I put them both into Desmos, and then I get negative 4 over 6, and then I simplify it by 2. And if you type negative 4 over 6 into your calculator, it will give you this decimal. this fraction. Make sure you write the fraction and not the decimal, because slope is always a fraction. All right, so some other names for slope. We talked about these in class at length. Rate of change is another way of asking for slope. The M, the steepness or the measure of the tilt, the change in y over the change in x. This is the slope formula, the rise over the run. These are all ways or different synonyms for slope. So if I find the rate of change or the slope for the linear tables, so I'm looking to see the change in y over the change in x. So as I look at the change in y, I notice that each time that the number goes up by 5. So my numerator or my top number is 5 because that's the way that the numbers are changing. And then on this side, the numbers are going up by 3. And you can really tell right here from 1 to 4. It's kind of harder to tell with the negatives, but I know it's linear, so I know they're all the same. So my bottom number is 3, so my slope is 5/3. Press pause and try the other one if you're having trouble with these. All right, so I'm going to add 2 on the y side, which means the top number is 2. And I'm going to add 1 on the x side, so that means the number is 1. So my slope is 2/1. All right, so write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. Well, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. That's the name of the formula, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. And that's where the line crosses the y-axis. So as I read this, it has a slope of 1/6, so 1/6 would be the m. And it has a y-intercept or a b of -10. So I type or I put those into the equation and it looks just like this. So down here, same thing. It has a slope of -4, so that is my m, and it has a y-intercept of 7, so that is my b. And here's my equation, y equals -4x plus 7. All right, so to find the slope of a line using rise over run, so remember your rise is how many, up or down? Up is positive, down is negative. So from point to point, I go with my most left point. I'm going to go down 1, 2, so that's -2, and right 1. Okay, starting with my most left point, I'm going down 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my top number, -4, because I went down. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my bottom number because I went right. Okay, and then here from point to point, starting with my most left, I go up 2, 1, 2, so that's positive, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 to the right. And then this one will simplify, but I will take 2/4 as the right answer. Okay, graph the following. So when there's only one x or one y and the other letter is missing, you know that it's either horizontal or vertical. So some of you may have it memorized that y equals is the horizontal line. Remember, that's your sideways line. Okay, and some of you might have it memorized that the x equals ones are the vertical lines or the straight up and down. Okay, like this. Okay, but not everybody memorizes that, and that's okay. So we can make a table. So it says y is always -7, so I put -7s here under the y. And then I can pick whatever values I want for x. I pick easy numbers, easily graphed numbers. And then I plot those, and it makes a flat line or a horizontal line, and there's my picture. The slope is 0 of a horizontal line because there's no tilt to it. All right, and then this one, x equals 5. It says x is always 5, so I put 5s in the x column, and then some random numbers in the y, some easy numbers that are easily graphed. And so I graph those, and I've got a straight up and down line, and the slope on a straight up and down or a vertical line is undefined. All right, so this last one has an x and a y. So because it has an x and a y, that means that we could switch them. They're both y and x. I'm just going to switch it like this. So x would be 1/1. That's my slope. And b is 0. So I plot at 0 because 0 is my starting point. And then from there, I do the slope. Up 1, right 1. So up 1, right 1, put a dot. Up 1, right 1, put a dot. Up 1, right 1, put a dot. And there's my line. The slope of this line is already stated as 1 or 1/1. right? So here's another one of those ones, the function notation where you're plugging numbers. So negative 12 is going to go in for x, and that gives you negative 13 when you put your work into Desmos. 9 is going to go into for x, so that gives you negative 6 when you type that into Desmos. And the last one is 0, and when you put 0 in there for x, that gives you negative 9 when you type that into Desmos. All right, so this one's application. It says the water is slowly draining out of the tub, and the table represents the loss of water by the hour. Find the slope from the table and explain its meaning. So over here on the right-hand side, it looks like at 0 hours, we have 45 gallons. At 2 hours, 2 hours have gone by, we have 42 gallons. So we're losing about 3 gallons of water. So you can see that the numbers we're losing -3. Minus because we're losing, the number's going down. And over here, the hours are increasing by 2. So I can figure out what the slope is by doing the change in y over the change in x. So because I'm going down by 3, it's -3 on the top on the y's and +2 on the x's. So -3 over 2 as my slope. And I can give this meaning. I know that these aren't just regular numbers or like the boxes on the graph. These actually apply to these. So what's happening is the tub is losing 3 gallons because it's -3 every 2 hours because it's +2 on the bottom. So it asked me how many gallons did the tub start with? Well, the 0.045 is the beginning because it's at 0 hour. So I started with 45 gallons because my B is 45. And how many gallons will be left after 8 hours? Well, I'm supposed to figure out what this question mark is. But if my number keeps going down by 3, what would the question mark be? Well, 36 minus 3 would be 33. So it would be 33 gallons because all I did was subtract 3 from 36 because 2 more hours went by, so I lose 3 more gallons. All right, so y equals mx plus b for 2 of them, and this one's not in standard form, but close. It's set up for intercepts perfectly, so I'm going to use intercepts. So right here, my slope would be next in front of the x, so 4 over 1, and my b would be +5, and that's my starting point. So I go to +5 on the y, and then I'm going to go up 4, right 1. Okay, it looks like I went down 4, left 1 too, probably because I was off the graph. Okay, and then if I do it over here, I've got nothing behind the plus b right here. Whoops, need something other than a highlighter. So b is 0, and slope is -1/2, which means I'm going to go down 1 and right 2. So 0, 0 is my starting point. Then I go down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2. And I saved the last one in the middle. It's an intercept problem. Now you could solve for y and make it slope intercept form and pull your m and your b, but it would be easier to just cover. So on the first part, I got rid of the positive and the 2 and the y, and I had this left, and I divided and got -2, 0 for x. And then on the second part, to find the y, I crossed out the -4, and the x, and that gave me this, 2y plus 8. So I divided both sides by 2, and I got 4, and this is a y. So 0, 4 is my answer. And then I graphed the 2. And I'm supposed to find the slope. Well, on the other 2, I already had the slope because I had the m. But here I didn't. So I added another point right here, and I went up. Oh, this is backwards. Oh, I went up 2 and right 1. So my slope is 2 over 1. All right, so we didn't do these in class, or we did them a little bit in the problem solving right before that week of the test and the problem solving. But it says that write an equation in standard form. So that's ax plus by equals c of a line that has an x-intercept of 6. So that means x equals 6. So if I write the ordered pair, it looks like this. and y equals 2. So y equals 2. So that ordered pair looks like this. So what I do is I take this 2 and I put it with the x, the opposite letter, and I take this 6 and I put it with the y, and then to get my right-hand number, I just multiply the 2, so I get 12. So this is my answer. Press pause and try the other one. So it has an x-intercept of 4, so x equals 4, and a y-intercept of 10. So here are the 2 points. Okay, so I take the x-intercept, the 4, and put it with the y, and I take the y and put it with the x, and then I multiply 10 times 4 to get 40 to get the other side. That's my answer. I hope you got that right. All right, and then this is a table, and this is a mapping. So table and mapping. So I can decide if things are functions by looking at the x. So if all the x's are different, which they are on the table, this is a function. For the domain, I list all the x values, and for the range, I list all the y values. Okay, same thing over here. This is called a mapping. Okay, now I could write these points out, and I didn't do that, but -2, 1 would be my first one. -2, 3 would be my second point. See how this has got 2 arrows? Okay, 0, -3, 1, 4, and 3, 1. So there are 5 points to this mapping. So it's not a function because there are 2 -2s. And you can see them in the domain as well. And you can also see that 2 arrows are coming off of the -2. So, and my range would be all of the numbers in the right hand. These are the y's, and these are my domains, all of the numbers in the left-hand circle or oval. All right, linear or nonlinear. So remember, linear means straight line, nonlinear means not a straight line. Function means that you can draw a vertical line through it and it will only hit the picture one time. Not a function means that it will hit more than once. So this is definitely linear, and if I draw a vertical line through it, it only hits once, no matter where I draw it, so it's a function. So this one is nonlinear because it's a curve, it's a double curve, and no matter where I draw the straight line, it would only hit once, so it's a function. This one is nonlinear. It's a curve. It's actually exponential, I think, and no, it isn't. It's cubic. It's cubic. So it's nonlinear. It's not a straight line. And it's a function because if I draw the line, it only hits it once. This is linear because it's a straight line. It's a function because no matter where I draw the vertical line, it only hits once. This is nonlinear and it's not a function because if I draw a line through it, it hits it twice. One here and then one down at the bottom too. So right here and right here, that's 2 times. So that makes it not a function. This one's also not a function, like a shoestring. It hits twice, actually 3 times right there. Nonlinear for sure, definitely not a straight line. This is nonlinear, it's an angle. It's actually a picture of absolute value. So if I draw a line through it, it only hits 1 time. This is linear, it's a straight line, but it's the only kind of line, straight line, that's not a function because it's a vertical line. So, because if I draw the line right there, it crosses infinitely. I mean, I could keep going and going, and it's going to keep crossing it again and again and again and again and again. All right, so if I sketch the following equation from slope-intercept form, my slope is -2 over 1, and my b is 9. So my starting point is 9. From 9, I go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. Okay, my slope here is 1/3, and my b is -6. I'm missing a graph. So, oh, no, I'm not. It's down here. So -6 is down here, and then I'm going to go up 1, right 3, up 1, right 3. All right, then here, 3 is my starting point, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. Okay, so this is another opportunity to practice slope formula. So we're going to do 7 minus 5 on the top and 10 minus 0 on the bottom. So 2 over 10, which simplifies to 1/5. And then -8 minus 3 because I'm subtracting the y's, and -4 minus 8. So when I put both of these into decimals, I get -11 over negative 12, which gives me 11/12. That would be a big graph. All right, if I write the equation in standard form, remember that standard form is ax plus by equals c. So it's about the order. The x term has to be first, the y term has to be second, the equal sign has to be third, and the constant, or the number that doesn't have x or y, has to be last. Okay, the big rule here is that a has to be a positive integer. Okay, so as I look at this first one, it's in slope-intercept form, and I want it to be in standard form. So this 7x has got to go to the other side. Well, I do that by subtracting x, by subtracting 7x. So I have 7x plus y equals negative 8, and then I realize, oh, this is negative, and it can't be. So I multiply each one of them by negative 1, or I flip-flop all their signs. So this would be my final answer. And on this one, again, 9x is on the wrong side. Whoops, 9x is on the wrong side. So I subtract 9x on both sides. So I put my 9x first, my negative 4y second, my equals third, and my 1/2 last. It's in the right order. Now I have a problem with this negative. So I multiply each one by negative 1, and it gives me 9x plus 4y equals negative 1/2. Notice I just changed the signs on each one of the terms. Okay, so this is a little bit more practice in solving for y. So we're going to subtract 2x on both sides. The 3y is going to drop. And then I'm going to divide each piece by 3. So these are going to cancel. Y drops. 2/3 is a decimal. I don't want a decimal, so I just leave it as negative 2/3. And 6 divided by 3 is positive 2. Okay, so here I would add 5x to both sides. The 4y is going to drop. And then I would divide each piece by 4. So y drops. When you put this into decimals, it's a decimal. I don't want a decimal, so I leave it as 5/4 x. And when I do 20 divided by 4, I get positive 5. And then on this one, first I'm subtracting x on both sides. So I have, don't forget the negative, I have negative 8y that drops, negative x, and positive 16. Remember, you can't add these because one has an x and one doesn't. Then I divide all 3 pieces by negative 8. So those cancel. These 2 negatives cancel, and there's a 1 right there. So this becomes 1/8, because if I do 1 divide 8, it gives me a decimal. I can't have a decimal. So I just leave it as 1/8, and then 16 divided by negative 8 would be -2, or negative 2. Okay, so determining the range and the domain for each of these lines. So since it's not just a bunch of points, if it were just a bunch of points, I could list just the x's for the domain, and the range I could list the y's, but it's a picture. So that means it's all the points, every point between the 2 points. That's the beginning and the end. So what I like to do is write the points out, that's between the beginning and the end, and then it's easier for me to get the points right when I do the domain. So remember, when I write a compound inequality to represent the domain and range, the letter that goes with the domain is x, and the letter that goes with range is y. I use less than always, because I'm saying it's between something, and then I decide if it's equal to and equal to based on if they're open or closed. All right, so small number goes in the front and big number goes in the back. So when I look at these numbers, this is -2, 4. So -2 would be my smallest x value, and 4 would be my biggest x value. So I put the -2 in front and the 4 in the back. They're equal to because they are closed circles. Okay, and the x is in the middle because it's the domain. Then I do the same thing with the range. So 4 is my big number and 2 is my small number. So 2 goes in the front and 4 goes in the back. Y goes in the middle, again, because it's range. Less than are always there to show that it's between, and then equal to are there because it's closed. All right, so press pause if you're having trouble with, and try the blue one and try the red one. So I did them both, and let's see if you can get them correct. Start by writing the ordered pairs. I think that will be extremely helpful. All right, so for the domain, -2 is my small number and +2 is my big number for the x's. So -2 goes in the front, 2 goes in the back, x goes in the middle because it's domain. By the -2 is closed, so I put the equals. By the +2 is open, so I put no equals. Okay, so this is my domain. If I do the range, I use the y values. So -3 is my small one, 5 is my big one. So -3 is first and 5 is last. Y is in the middle, closed on this side, on the small side, and open there because it's an open circle, so there's no equals. Good. All right, Yolanda went to get her car fixed. It cost $50 for the part and $200 for each hour the mechanic worked on it. If X represents the number of labor hours and Y is the total cost of repairing the car, write the equation in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to write the equation like Y equals MX plus B, where I figure out what the M is and what the B is. I have to figure both of them out. Remember, B is my starting point. So when she went to get her car fixed, she needed a part. And that was a $50 part. That is her B. That is her starting point. And then however long it takes the mechanic to get the part in, that's going to determine her total bill. So it costs the mechanic, he's charging $200 each hour, each being a key word here. Kinds of words you look for, each, per, and every. That determines your rate. Also with respect to time. Often it's respect to time. So 200 is my slope because of the each and the hour. And 500 is my y-intercept because it was the starting point. So that makes this my equation. Right? Jessica wants to rent a boat. The rental shop charges an initial fee of $15. That's the starting point, so that's the B. Plus $12 per hour. There's that per again. Okay, that means that one's the slope to rent the boat. Write an equation in slope-intercept form that represents the situation if X equals the number of hours and Y equals the total cost. So I used Y equals MX plus B again. And I put my initial fee, B, in here, $15, and I put my 12 in for M, and it gave me this, Y equals 12X minus or plus 15. And that's all there is. So I hope that you didn't have to watch the whole thing because that probably took a good half an hour. But I hope you found the ones that you were struggling with and my explanation was enough. And if it wasn't, please email. Let's discuss before the test. So thanks for watching. Bye.